Hey guys, I kind of wanted to do a little bit of a mini series where I looked at how different the talents are from people who play heroes in high ranks versus in low ranks. And I wanted to start off with mages because I figured that might be the most interesting. And this is kind of just for fun. I don't know if I'm going to do it for every role. I kind of also wanted to do it for supports just because of cleanse. This actually, the whole thing was brought up by cleanse. I looked at it, and in high ranks, cleanse's win rate was usually on par with other talents. And in low ranks, cleanse's win rate was significantly lower than other talents. And I just thought that was kind of interesting because yet the popularity of cleanse on both tiers or on both levels is super high. I asked a friend who was low rank, and I said, why are people taking cleanse if they don't use it? And he says, well, the thing is if people don't take cleanse, they get called a noob. And I thought that was kind of interesting because it's like when learning a new hero, you should try to make it as simple as possible so you get to learn one thing at a time rather than overwhelming yourself with every button. So I think that there are builds that are definitely meta, and I think there's builds that are more learning the hero builds. Sure, you learn some bad habits, but you at least get to learn what the hero does, and then you get to add on extra things. I did the same thing in League of Legends when I was learning League of Legends. Instead of buying a bunch of activatable items, I started with all the passive items so I could learn all the abilities of my hero by himself. Then I learned, okay, well, there's a limitation to my hero. So, for example, Galio. When I returned and started playing League of Legends a lot, Galio has an AoE taunt, but he has a hard time getting to people. He does have a charge, but it's very obvious when he's doing it because he jumps back and then he charges forward. So there's an item in there that just moves you slightly forward and then throws out little rockets. And it's like, that was a meta item. And so I learned everything about Galio first, and I realized that the gap closer is where he really struggles. And so then I picked up that item, boom, I instantly go into the range of people, taunt them. At the end of the taunt, then I can do my charge back and stun them. And my kill potential rose after that. But I needed to learn the hero first before I could learn how that playstyle worked. So there are a lot of talents like that. Anyways, let's keep these videos short and let's get right into it. So what we're going to look at is I want to go to popularity, and I'm just going to look at like the top 5 mages and see how their talents differ from high ranks to low ranks. So let's start off with, let's start off with Tazstar actually. Start off with Tazstar. And for high ranks, I'm going to consider it Masters and Diamond. And we're going to look at popularity. Static Charge. This is Q build. Plasma Shield, which is the when your Resonance Beam is fully charged, you gain a shield. Then into the level 7 is a little split. Psy Echo, Beam Alignment, and Arc Discharge almost has very few. I generally go Beam Alignment now. And then we go into this level and we have Archon. 80% of them are Archon. Followed by level 13. Feedback has the highest win rate. It synergizes really well with Archon. Then we have Oracle and Shadow Walker about even as far as popularity. Then we have Thermal Lance by a large margin. Followed by, not really followed by anything. And then finally Twilight Archon by a large margin. So essentially, they go Q build with Archon in the highest ranks with almost no exception. 70% of people are going that. Bronze and Silver. Q build. Nothing really different there. Overall, the same builds. Archon a little bit less often. Then we have Shadow Walk a little more often. Still Q build. Still Twilight Archon. But again, they're a little less often. Where it was about 70% of the time, people were going the Q build with Archon. And up to level 20 was the same thing. It's a lot lower. Quite a bit lower in these ranks. They're a little bit more spread out. And I find this happens a lot in low ranks in general, that there's a lot of people who will copy builds online. And then there's a lot of people that like don't look up builds at all. They just kind of take whatever they want to take. And where one might win more than another, that it's not always as easy as just saying the people that copy high-end builds win more, because that's not actually always the case. You can see that W build has a higher win rate than Q build. The people that pick their own talents sometimes win more than those who copy builds. It's it's more of people will copy a build, but they won't know exactly how it's supposed to be played. So they'll read a guide online or they'll watch a video. And where I do my best to try to explain the play style, not everyone does that. A lot of people will say this is the build. A lot of streamers too, they'll say this is the build, but they never explain how it's actually played, and thus creates these unusual win rates. So same thing, like I run a lot of Static Shock in my build, higher win rate than Q build, which is the more common build right now. So more people might be copying builds but not know why to play them. And so that's the basic idea behind that. Really, is that people might not understand these builds. They might also be more difficult builds too. That's something to also pay attention to. Let's take a peek at Kael'thas. Kael'thas, first thing that we're going to look at Masters and Diamond and see what people are running. So with the highest popularity, we have Mana Addict. Almost 80% of people pick Mana Addict. Then we also have Netherwind is 50%. As far as this level, Sun King's Fury is 54%. Pyroblast is starting to lead, only by a little bit, though. Win rates are very similar. It's only, 57 to 42%, so still pretty close to 50% of the time. Pyromaniac, over 50%. And then we have Fury of the Sunwell, we have Ignite, 77%. So the few talents, and then Flamethrower, 65%. So the few talents that are, like, overwhelmingly popular in these ranks are Mana Addict, into Ignite, and into Flamethrower, where the other ones that are pretty heavily in favor is Netherwind, Sun King's Fury, and Pyromaniac. Let's take a peek in the lowest ranks. So Mana Addict drops by a little bit and Convection rises by a little bit. Win rates of Mana Addict, though, are quite a bit lower than the win rates of Convection. Once again, it might be a concept of you get a shield, and if you forget to use it, what's the purpose of having that shield? The extra mana, what's the purpose of that if you're going to die often? You know what I mean? So Convection, if it does get completed, it's a lot of extra damage in the early game. 200 extra damage. At this level, Netherwind is still the most popular. Sun King's Fury is still the most popular, but Burned Flesh does rise quite a bit in popularity, 10% more popularity. Part of the reason why Sun King's Fury is so strong is that in the late game, when you have Ignite, you'll throw an Ignite in their backline and a bomb in their front line. They try to spread out, but it's never perfect, and so you get a lot of extra value from it. Where Burned Flesh always needs to hit 2 people, and it's really hard to hit 2 people with a Q when you're playing in higher ranks. But in lower ranks, it's a lot easier to hit 2 people with a Q. Level 10, Pyroblast, where it was almost 50% in low ranks, Pyroblast is dominating it was almost 50% in high ranks. It's dominating in low ranks right now. Pyromaniac is almost even with Fission Bomb. So again, this is another one where Pyromaniac was quite a bit higher in popularity. Fission Bomb, again, it would be better if you're going Sun King's Fury, but whatever. And then we have Ignite that is at 68%, still pretty overwhelmingly ahead. And then we have Fury of the Sunwell that's has gone up a bit in rank. A lot of people in high ranks don't like this talent because people are rarely going to stand in this to explode twice. It's going to blow up once, they see it the second time, they've probably already moved pretty far away from it after the first time, and the second time they're just gone. It's okay for zoning, but you know what's better for zoning? Lighting everyone on fire to have them explode. You know what I mean? So now out of popularity, Master of Flames jumps up quite a bit, and Flamethrower drops. You would think that Master of Flames would have a much higher win rate in these low ranks where people don't spread out as much, but it really doesn't. And I think it's because the KTs that are a little bit more confident with landing their abilities are going to take Flamethrower, so they're naturally going to just win more because they're more confident. People that aren't spreading out are going to die whether or not you take these talents, because if they're not spreading out, Flamethrower is going to win anyways, especially with Ignite. So overall, not too much different outside of the ultimate abilities. Nothing too crazy. Let's go down to Li Ming and see if there is a difference in high and low rank play. Let's start off with high rank. And level 1 talents are very even. As expected, they're pretty situational talents. Level 4, we have... good lord, I'm the worst. You know when you have that word you can't pronounce? 70%. as far as that goes. Nothing too crazy in that. At level 7, it's pretty back and forth on it. The highest win rate's actually the Orb talent at level 7. I actually really like this Orb talent, and I'll kind of explain why. When you combine it with this, that you're going to have low cooldowns, having increased distance traveled and lower the cooldown by 1 second. And remember, this just lowers the cooldown flat. So if the cooldown's lowered by an extra 5 seconds, you're throwing out orbs a lot. If you're on a map that people are forced to stay in one location for a while, even in Masters, people are going to get hit. Like Volskaya, you can have an orb like go through a huge portion. So here's the Volskaya rectangle, right? Your orb, if you're playing Li Ming, if you take that talent where it goes 30% more, legitimately could cover this much of the area. And so that's like almost 40% of the zone. And you got to remember that there's probably enemy heroes peppered around this entire zone. So even if they dodge to go up here, you just clustered it for another person on your team to throw something. So you have an ETC, and this person moves up here. ETC slides over all of these, and they're all stunned, right? So the thing is you're either going to hit someone, or you're going to force them into a position that they don't want to be in. So on some maps, this is actually really, really powerful. Let me see if I can go back to here. So I actually think it's a pretty strong talent. It does have a higher win rate than Calamity, but at the same time, Calamity does require a little bit more work. Calamity's infinitely times better for resets. I mean, not infinitely. Probably 4 or 5 times better for resets because it's instant. It does damage exactly where you want it to go. You don't need to land an ability, and it'll instantly reset. So you can immediately hit another person. So if you're going a reset build, this is definitely the best talent. So it's the most popular in these ranks for sure, by 55%. And then almost even in the highest ranks with Disintegrate and Wave of Force. Disintegrate has a higher win rate. It just adds a lot more damage to your team, which is where your team's often lacking. Wave of Force is better for reset builds. It's also better when you get the Repulsion if you're good with Repulsion. It's like a really fast Horrify at that point. But Disintegrate's it's a lot of damage. It also counters Cocoon, but then, the rest of Anubrak's still hard to deal with because his beetles block everything that you do. So it's not the best counter. If you pick Li Ming first and then he picks Anubrak, it's a good counter, but I wouldn't recommend picking that just to counter Cocoon. It happened a lot in the competitive scene, so who am I to say anything, right? Level 13, Illusionist is picked a lot more than anything else. Glass Cannon's at 40%. Then we go down to level 16 where we have Mirror Ball is picked at the highest amount, almost at 50%. Orb talent of this is only 30%. Diamond Skin pretty low, and Fireflies is almost non-existent, even though I think this talent's actually, I think it's underrated. I don't think it's good for every situation, but I think it's underrated on some. Like on BOE, if you're trying to race, it's not bad. Mirror Ball's not bad for race either, but it's, either way. Level 20, Archon Pure Power has the highest win rate, but the lowest pick rate. Tal Rasha's actually has the highest pick rate, which surprises me a little bit. And then after that, we have Repulsion and then Temporal Flux. Let's take a peek at what the lower ranks are going to look like. So in the lower ranks, Power Hungry is a lot more popular than the others, but Force Armor is still pretty close to it. That talent I can't pronounce, still the highest popularity talent. And this is where Orb talent level 7 becomes the most popular talent, where Calamity was the most popular talent, so significant change in those where it is also a higher win rate. Even with that higher popularity, people don't move around as much. Orbs hit them more often. Having stronger orbs that go further is definitely more viable. Disintegrate's being picked a significant amount more, and again, it's just more damage, things that's often lacking in these low ranks. Wave of Force often could save someone if you're bad at it. And then we have Glass Cannon being picked a lot more, and it ends up overtaking Illusionist and has a higher win rate. And then level 16, we have the Orb talent dominating the other talents, including Mirror Ball, even though Mirror Ball actually still has a higher win rate. the Orb talent has a higher pick rate by quite a bit. And then finally, at the last level, Tal Rasha's once again dominates, both in popularity and win percentage. So it's interesting. It definitely is interesting. Let's take a peek at the next mage. How many have we done? 1, 2, 3. We've got 2 more mages. Let's see what we've got. Not a lot of mages in here that are showing up. Orphea. Let's take a peek at her. And Jaina. Okay. So, let's see Jaina first. She was a little bit more popular than Orphea. Let's go into Masters and Diamond. We are seeing Fingers of Frost taken almost exclusively, 72% of the time. We see Frost Shards being picked up 60% of the time. We see Ice Lance 60% of the time, with Ice Flows doing a little bit better now. The highest win rate is actually Ice Fury Wand at a really low percentage. I'm not a big fan of this talent because it requires you to stay in a bad position for a long period of time, but it is a talent that can be pretty cool. Level 10, we have Water Elemental. Well, actually, both of these are taken around the same percentage, only off by +6 here, -7 here-ish. And Water Elemental has a significantly higher win rate. I think it's primarily just because it's an easier ability to get value off of. Ring of Frost, if you miss it, it gets 0 value. You have no ultimate. Where Water Elemental, at the very least, you finish your Ice Block fast. Level 13, Icy Veins is picked the most with the second highest win rate, where Stormfront is picked the second highest with the highest win rate. Again, this could come down to people just not knowing how to use Icy Veins correctly, and Stormfront just being an easier talent to get a lot of effect off of. But it does... I mean, I still think that there is potential in this build. I just think that I don't like how you... If Ice Fury Wand also increased your attack range by a little bit, I think this would definitely be a viable build and a very strong build. I mean, it's probably still a viable build right now, but I do think it would slowly creep into the meta more if this gave attack range. Level 16, Snowstorm has an extremely high win rate, despite being a really rough talent to defend. And then both of, in this rank anyways, Numbing Blast, giving the root, has the highest popularity and a really good win rate. At level 20, Winter Mute has the highest popularity, followed by upgrading your Ring of Frost with Cold Snap. Now let's take a peek at lower ranks. In lower ranks, Fingers of Frost has dropped a tiny bit, but it still holds a pretty good margin. At level 4, Arcane Intellect has jumped up by about 20%, where Frost Shards has dropped down. Ice Flows has dropped up, or bumped up by about 10%, where Ice Lance has dropped down by about 10%. And from this, it seems more like people struggle with mana management in low ranks. They don't know when to back, they don't know when to hit fountains, anything like that. So Arcane Intellect would actually increase your win rate a little bit if you were bad at managing your mana. But in high ranks, you know how to manage your mana, so this is just a dead talent. And level 10, we have Summon Water Elemental, is actually lower popularity than Ring of Frost. So this is a huge difference. Ring of Frost, despite being more difficult, it's a much higher popularity, almost double the popularity, and it still has a lower win rate because it's difficult to land. I think that maybe it's flashy, so people think, oh, well, I can make a big play, and they're not so much thinking as what's easier. They're thinking of like, hey, I need to carry this game, so I need to make a big play. But not a lot of people are going to follow up on a Ring of Frost. People don't know how to follow up that well in low ranks, so... Even if you land good Ring of Frost, it's probably not the best talent. I would rather take a selfish talent where you could just, like, have your Water Ally do way more damage. Now, at this tier, Stormfront is much higher popularity than Icy Veins, which surprises me. If you're going to go Stormfront, why don't you go Ice Fury Wand? But, whatever. Ice Barrier also gains some popularity. The highest win rate, though, is right... I mean, Icy Veins and Stormfront are essentially tied. And then level 16, it's kind of split, actually. I mean, Numbing Blast is a little bit higher than the other two, but Snowstorm is very, very close. Finally, at the last level, upgrading your Ring of Frost is the highest popularity, which... I mean, I like Cold Snap purely because it lowers the cooldown when you hit people, and the extra root in the middle, like, sometimes it gets people, but that's just, like, icing on top. Ice Blink, to me, just it's the shortest blink in the game, and it's to the point that if people were going to catch you without Ice Blink, they're probably going to catch you with Ice Blink. The only thing that I really like about Ice Blink is that you can chill someone, so you could chill someone, root them, and then combo them with something. But at that time, you could just use your Ice Block for that. So honestly, I don't really like Ice Blink. Deep Chill, I've heard the arguments for it, but overall, Jaina's was actually surprising. Like I feel like Stormfront would be an amazing talent in low ranks, especially since people are probably bad at Icy Veins. Same thing with Water Elemental. What I'm seeing from this is if you're in low ranks and you're playing Jaina, go Ice Fury Wand, go Stormfront, and go Water Elemental, because that's going to have a much higher win rate than whatever you're going right now. Get better at mana management, and then still go the Fingers of Frost and Frost Shards, and you'll be doing pretty well. That's what I'm seeing from these win rates right now in low ranks. And now let's look at Orphea. Orphea in Masters and Diamond is almost exclusively going Ancestral Strength. A large portion is going Chaotic Assault. Backbiter has the highest win rate. My favorite talent, just saying. I still go Chaotic Assault most of the time. Insatiable is the highest popularity, and it synergizes well with this build. Eternal Feast is not the highest popularity, Crushing Jaws, but it is the highest win rate. And it could be because you pick it to synergize with something else. It could just be that it's an easier talent. I can't tell you how many people I'm coaching that their Crushing Jaws people just walk right past them. I actually tell people now when I'm coaching them, just practice with Feast until you get everything else down by Orphea, and then start working on practicing Crushing Jaws. Level 13, we have Abyssal Symbiosis, which is the highest popularity and win rate. And then we have level 16, we've got Dead Magic. And level 20, Eldritch Conduit. So essentially the trait build that I've been kind of touting for a bit. Let's go down to Bronze and Silver. Ancestral Strength drops by about 20%, and On Point increases by about 20%. Allegrissimo suddenly becomes the most popular talent, so it's like Q build is a lot more popular at these ranks. Level 7, Insatiable, is the most popular talent, but it's followed very closely by Mind Devourer. Eternal Feast is the most popular and the highest win rate. Same thing. Well, I mean, it's different because Crushing Jaws was popular. I'm saying same thing of what I was saying is that for low-ranked players, you should be trying to play this because it's just an easier ult. And then Abyssal Symbiosis, that's interesting. They go Q build, but they stop going Q build when it gives you increased physical damage and it gives you spell armor. And then they go back to Q build again when it's percent health. Why wouldn't you take Determination? Spell armor is really good in this build because the only way you die in this build is by getting bursted. You out-heal most sustained damage, and burst is mostly spell damage, so I'm really surprised. I mean, maybe they just don't value survivability, but this is also a survivability talent. So I'm a little surprised at that, why they don't go this talent. Also, extra physical damage means a bigger heal as well. So that's weird. And then they go back to percent health on Q. So in low ranks, they just like Q build, which is also surprising to me as well, because Q build seems easier, but your trait build is actually really easy to play because anytime that someone jumps on you, your bite is hard to miss, and then it's auto attack after that. So all you're doing is biting with a low cooldown ability and then auto attacking. So I'm surprised more people don't go that in low ranks. But yeah, that's essentially that. I just thought it would be a fun video to break down the difference between high ranks and low ranks. Maybe give some suggestions to people in low ranks. Low ranks, if you're playing Orphea, just go the trait build. It's a lot easier to play. You don't need to always land all your Qs. Your Ws are really easy to land. Jaina, I would honestly just go the Stormfront build at this point because it's got a really good win rate. Go Water Ellie. Just go the easy things and get good at the easy things and adjust later. Li Ming, Orb at 4 and 7. I'm not sold at Orb at 16. Mirror Ball still has a similar win rate, and I think it's just so much more single target damage where you want it. Kael'thas's, I still don't recommend Convection. I'd almost just go like a trait build, but that's really weird. I don't know. If you're gonna take, and that's the thing too, if you're gonna take Vision Bomb, take Sun King's Fury, right? Like, if you're gonna take W talents, take more of them. You know, if the reason you're winning is because people are spreading bombs, then commit to the bombs. Don't take burned flesh. Just take Sun Kings into Ignite, into Fission Bomb. I still think Pyromaniac's better, but hey, let's go Fission Bomb. And Master Flames will do more if there's bigger radius for it, or Flamethrower will do better because you're applying Ignite to more people. As far as Tazstar Q build, I mean, it's just straightforward. I wouldn't worry. I wouldn't overcomplicate things. Go Archon. It's got a higher win rate, and just make it there. If you guys like this type of video, I could certainly make some more. I've been wanting to look at, because it originally started because of healers and cleanse. But if there's a specific role you want to see about high ranks versus low ranks, to see, one, if they play very differently, two, to see if the win rates are different, like if easier talents are just higher win rate, then yeah, let me know and I'll make more videos on this. But I just thought it would be something fun to take a peek at while we're just analyzing some random data here. If you guys are curious about the website that I used, it's hotslogs.com. If you'd like to help out hotslogs.com, because maybe these games played numbers are a little lower than what we'd like to see to run these statistics, then make an account on there and upload your replays. It costs you nothing. It takes like, I don't know, 30 minutes or something to do. Probably not even that. And then you also get a lot of information about yourself too. And I'm probably making another video on hotslogs later, but who knows? Check that out. If you guys have any questions, throw it down in the comments down below. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching. Feel free to check out my other videos.